Welcome to another episode of Hustle Chronicles, where the grind meets growth in the world of healthcare. As you know, this ain't your typical podcast because I bring you some of the freshest, some of the livest guests from around the world, Craig. And today we have a very special guest who goes by the name of Dr. Jared Williams. Dr. Jared Williams, DBA, a proud native of Port Arthur, Texas, served as the Chief Executive Officer of Family Service Center, the Center for Mental Health and Wellbeing. He holds a BBA in Management from Jarvis Christian University, an MBA in Healthcare Administration from Lamar University, and a doctorate in Business Administration and Analytics from the University of Incarnate Word. With over 19 years of experience in finance, operations, quality, and performance improvement, information technology, and analytics, Dr. Williams has worked across hospital systems, multiple state hospices, and federal qualified health systems. He also holds a certificate in Big Data Analytics 360 from Cornell University, Healthcare Leadership from Harvard University, and is certified nonprofit executive and development executive through the National Association of Nonprofit Organizations and Executives. Committed to the community service, Dr. Williams is a board member of Galveston Clubhouse and NIA Cultural Center and serves as a chair of the Faculty Employer Advisory Committee at Jarvis Christian University. Please put your hands together and let's welcome Dr. Williams to the stage. What's up, Doc?
How's it going? It's
Man,
great to
I
be
am
here.
awesome. Listen, it's a special day. It's beautiful outside. I'm looking, the birds are chirping.
Yeah.
You and I were above ground. I read your bio, and then I'm looking at you. I was like, man, look at this cat, man. This guy looks like, you and I, we can be related. We can be brothers and whatnot, And you've already been accomplished in so many things and making waves within the healthcare center. So when I was stalking your LinkedIn page, I was like, you know what? This is a guy that I definitely want to connect with. I definitely want to get his story told. I want others to not only hear your voice, but be inspired by, the change that you're making as well. So welcome to the show, Doc.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was great to meet you. We connected fairly fast.
Listen, look, I'm a stalker, man. I got that military background, so I know how to sneak up on people, man, and use those skills. And so I was definitely using them, to make sure I connected with you. But all right, so Doc, listen, please introduce yourself. Let everybody vibe with you, understand who you are, your background, and what you bring to the table.
All right, so go by Dr. Williams, but everybody calls me Jared. But here we have two people with the same name, so everybody, Dr. J, Dr. Williams. I'm kind of laid back. 37 from Port Arthur, of course. So people listen to music. What comes from that side of town. You got the Janis Joplins, the Steven Jackson, Stack Fives. We have rich history in that area, a lot of sports, music, you name it. So it's a unique experience going from that setting to a different setting in Houston and then transitioning to Galveston. But I've been in healthcare for a very, very long time and kind of accidentally got into it. So thought I was going to be an athlete, didn't work out. Thought I was going to be didn't work out. Thought I was going to be in operations, didn't work out. Just so happened I have old school parents that just made me stay in school.
Man, there's so much you've already shared. There's a lot to go off. I mean, starting with Port Arthur, Texas, like you said, UGK, we got Chop and Screw. Yeah. We got a little bit of everything. We we got good soul food down there in Port Arthur, Texas. I mean, the vibe is real. It's Port Arthur, Texas, for people who've never been there. It's like the big little city. You know what I'm saying? Like the culture is rich. The people are tight. Those relationships are strong. And the impact and influence that they have over culture is priceless. Again, we're talking about UGK, one of the best groups that ever was, especially in the rap game. So this is, it's very cool to get to know that there's actually people that are on the show that are truly from Port Arthur, Texas. You're the first, man. You're definitely the first.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely different. It's what they rap about is what you see.
Yes.
So when you make it out, you're definitely blessed. But to stay there, you're definitely blessed as well because it's like you said, culture.
Yes.
And the way that people get to Port Arthur is also unique. My family migrated over for the oil boom, spindle time. They call it the Golden Triangle because that's where the gushers, they gush the oil first in Texas.
And Port Arthur is known for having some of the best ports for cruise ships, right? Because a A lot of cruise ships come there as well, correct?
Cruise ships, get seafood, Army, Navy, you name it. I mean, you fishing, you can do it all there.
So I got to ask because, for a time when I was in the military, I was stationed in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And then that introduced me to crawfish. I didn't know anything about crawfish until I got into Louisiana. Uh-huh. Is that a thing, man? Is that something that you and your family get into or no?
Some of my family get into it, but most of my family in Louisiana that still live there, they heavy into the crawfish and shrimp and all of that gumbo, 2 times removed. Okay. So I can't really speak the Creole and all that good stuff, but I can follow you though. I can follow you.
You mentioned, in your introduction of yourself personally, that you're kind of like an old soul because of your parents. Like, are they older, like much older, and that's where the old soul come from, or they just have that old soul vibe?
Oh no, they're much older. Like my family, so my parents were born in the 40s.
Ooh, okay.
So my mother was born in 49 and my father was born in 46. So nice. Then that tell you my grandparents were born in the 1919s and the 20s. Wow. So say old soul, I mean, you get up, you work, and you come back when the street lights come on.
Yes.
So it was no choice growing up old school like that.
Oh, I love that. And do you have like siblings?
I have a twin brother actually.
Like identical twin or
fraternal? Actually, fraternal.
Wow. So okay, now we're talking about another first. I've never, interviewed anybody that had a twin. Mm-hmm. What is that relationship like?
Me and my brother, we're close. Probably over the last 7 years is probably the only time we've been apart. We went to college together, pledged the same fraternity, pretty much played football, basketball. We were in the track club, powerlifting, did it all together. When he got married, he moved to North Carolina, Outer Banks. And he's been in Outer Banks, Omaha, Nebraska. That was my first time going to Omaha.
Yes.
And now he's in Fort Worth.
Okay, so he's close by me.
Yeah. His wife is at TCU getting a pharmacy license.
Oh, okay. So I have to know. Everybody want to know who's the older brother, you or your other brother?
He is 8 minutes.
8 minutes older than you.
Uh-huh.
So does he got like bragging rights? Did he pick on you, or like how did that work?
Growing up, I was taller, but he was bigger. But he didn't realize he was stronger probably until we were probably like 12.
Okay.
And that's when he realized that he just had the natural strength.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, it's hard to compete with strength. When somebody got strength, you're like, you win, dude. It's all you, man. In this lifestyle, you got it, man. So all right. So we learned a little bit about you personally. What about professionally? I mean, because here you are, we're reading your bio. You not only got your bachelor's degree, you ended up getting your master's degree. And then you said, wait, hold on, let me continue to advance. And you got your doctor's degree, and it was in business administration and analytics. So introduce yourself professionally.
So professionally, it was a rocky road. I'm old, but I'm young. Okay. When I graduated college, it took me 4 years, but that was around the time of the big crash. It was 2009. There was not a lot of jobs out there.
Okay.
I thought I was going to do X because I had 2 or 3 years at Seton Medical Center in Austin. I didn't get picked up there. My father just passed, so me and my brother moved back to Port Arthur to kind of help my mom out, kind of transition after being married for 40 years. And that's when I decided to get a master's degree. Because back then at Lamar, you can $1,500 to get you a semester, master's before a football team. So it was a no-brainer.
Okay.
I couldn't get a healthcare job. That's a little known fact. So the job I only could get at the time was just an analyst job with the school district. So I would go to work for the school district. Then at nighttime, I would go to school. And my mom said, there has to be a way. And this is before submitting your resume via LinkedIn and all of that.
Right.
So one day I get up and I make copies of my resume and I drive to Houston and I stop by every hospital, every clinic that I see and drop my resume off. I don't get a call back. Next option, I start volunteering at Methodist. So I'm working full time, I'm in a master's program, and I'm volunteering at a major hospital at the same time.
Okay.
Don't know how I even did it. 2 or 3 days I'm driving to Houston and they're like, where you want put me into business, whatever. I don't care. I'll learn whatever you teach me. And they ended up hiring me. After I graduated, they hired me, and that's when it all started. And it went fast.
What started?
The healthcare.
Okay, that's what started.
Yeah.
So for clarification, at this point, were you driving from Port Arthur to Houston, or were you driving from Austin to Houston?
I was driving from Port Arthur to Houston.
How far of a drive is that?
It's about an hour and a half, depending on if you hit traffic or not.
And you were doing that 2 or 3 times a week?
2 or 3 times a week, just to make sure that they saw who I was and they knew I was deserving to have that job.
Well, I mean, I guess why? Like, I mean, okay, I understand, like, okay, the hustle, you wanted to accomplish something, but why healthcare? Like, you could have done anything.
Well, when I worked at Seton, it was something different. You know, people didn't tell us when I was in college, even when I was in college, they didn't tell us that there was this side of healthcare. There was always doctor, nurse, maybe a little bit of IT, but no one ever talked about accounting. They didn't talk about operations. And at that time, they sure didn't talk about actually having men in healthcare being on the administrative side. So it was taboo and it was different. So whenever I found out that it was a need and I was good at it, I stuck with it.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So on this journey, here it is. You said it's not like today is where you can do the easy apply. Back then, you were going literally organization to organization, just dropping off your resume. And that somebody would, you know what, pick up the phone and just call Jared. You know, you give me an opportunity, right? You was doing this. How long did this last?
I did that actually about two and a half years before I started volunteering, because it was hard. Because back then, Google Maps and all that on your phone wasn't. Print them bad boys out and you got lost.
Yep.
Just go back home and try it again the next day. So it going there, you had to be dressed because you didn't know if they were going to interview you on the spot.
Sure.
And just playing the waiting game, hoping they call you. And after so long, it's just, okay, let's try. Houston is a big place. There's medical center is huge. There's several different types of nonprofits. I tried it all.
So here it is. I mean, you said that you were thinking about accounting at some point because I guess you like numbers, finance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You said something about the technical side as well. Yeah. You wanted to be on the technical side. Mm-hmm. And now if we think about what you do today, I mean, you're a CEO of a behavioral health clinic. Am I correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's the Center for Mental Health and Wellbeing. I have to know, okay, that's a big leap, man, from where you started to where you are now. So help me understand that hustle journey, like some of those steps that led to you becoming this, chief executive officer at this behavioral health clinic.
Oh yeah. So that first step with that internship at Seton, it was IT. I thought that was something I wanted to do because mostly men going out. Then I found out you stand up for all day.
Right.
I show up. I had on the slacks, the shirt and tie. I had on the square toes.
Yes.
And they laughed at me. And they were like, "Man, you gonna die today. You wear tennis shoes in this field."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, yeah, this is not for me." The next year I go back, they just start bouncing me around. I started asking questions. Okay, let's try operations. I get in operations. Okay, I like that. Next year, okay, let's do a little bit of accounting. I get into accounting, like, interesting. So then when I started volunteering at Methodist, I was like, hey, I got operations, I got accounting experience. And the lady that hired me, she said, well, what about, have you ever done anything that gets to that level? I'm like, well, what do you mean? She said, well, have you done billing? Have you done front desk? Have you been in the system? I was like, no. Yeah. So, well, why don't you start volunteering there?
Okay.
Like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I started volunteering there, and then I started learning the revenue cycle process. Then I started learning how the money cycles through and how long it takes to cycle through the insurance verification. And I started asking questions. And then next thing I know, I started asking, what's next? And she's like, well, get visible. And I started, okay, how do I get visible? Well, I started playing intramural sports with the executives.
Ooh.
Notice, I'm playing flag football with them. I'm going to the gyms they're going to because I want them to see who I am. And then it gets to the point where I'm serving on a nonprofit board within 2 years at Methodist. And I'm up for running for a job, an administrator job, and they hire a teacher with no experience. And I sit there like, all this work.
For what?
For what?
Right.
So the next week I'm sitting there and I'm just like, all this work for what? And I just got off the board because I moved fully to Houston. And as soon as I got off the board in Port Arthur, they called me and said the whole C-suite left, come be the CFO.
Oh, okay.
And that's when it really jump started. I was thrown in the fire.
Tell me more about this, because I talk to a lot of people, including myself, right? You know, we're given, or, you know, we position ourselves for so many years for these big C-suite opportunities. Mm-hmm. And then you get the opportunity and you feel blessed and amazed that you got the opportunity. Mm-hmm. But, you know, for me, only to realize that, okay, I had no formal training, no mentors, no coaches to help me fully excel in that role. So although I'm happy to be in the position, I'm like, I feel clueless. Like, where do I start? So tell me about your experience the first time you got into that C-suite role, and how did you, I guess, navigate, you know, that path?
So I'm what, 25, 26 years old?
Yeah.
Young. First question I ask myself is, are these old people going to listen to me?
Yeah.
And
I
so
like it.
My first day, they start drilling me on questions that I'm so happy to get experience on: billing, revenue cycle, operations. And I'm answering them. I'm like, okay, this may not be so bad, right? Then the DOL shows up because of something the previous people done. And for the next 6 months, I'm working 12-hour days every day of the week. It's a blur. And I'm thinking in my head, is this what life is?
Right.
This is what life is? Like, this is what a CFO's life is. And that process goes as a CFO in nonprofits and FQACs particularly for about a year and a half. Then I move into the hospice realm, where the owner he had a restaurant. I was able to dib and dab in restaurants, gyms, hospices, home health, vitamin companies. Anything he owned, he let me dib and dab in it for a couple of years. And it came to the point where they passed me up for the CFO role again.
Okay.
For a lady who just had connections.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there again. What now? She recommends me then, my boss, to go to a clinic where she's the board president in Richmond. I go there. I don't want to be the CFO anymore. I'm like, you know what? Just give me a job.
Right.
Good pay. I'm happy. They give me a job, great pay. I'm happy. Then they give me the CFO role. And I do that for 6 years.
Whoa.
6 years. And I say, okay, I'm ready to be a CEO because I'm doing CEO duties at this point, but I can't get a CEO job.
Okay.
So I pull someone aside and say, okay, what's the problem? I have the certs, I have the experience, I've done this, I've done that. Why do I keep getting passed up? And it's like, these guys have doctorate degrees. So I'm like, that's it? I'm gonna go get a doctorate degree now.
And so how long after you got that doctorate degree did your CEO opportunity open up for you?
So I have a conversation with my boss in Richmond. It was 2019.
Okay.
He said, if you can get in, we'll pay for it. Okay. I enroll, I drive to San Antonio, hand them my resume, interview with UIW. They accept me. I tell them they accepted me. They pay for it, the company. 2022, I graduate. So through COVID, I'm getting a doctorate and swabbing noses and being the CFO.
Right.
So May 2022, I graduate. November 2022, I get the CEO role here.
July, August, September, October, November. So 6 months later.
6 months later.
Wow. Okay. This is a lot. I mean, there's a lot. Well, first, let's go all the way back. I mean, your hustle journey is strong. I mean, you went from Austin to Houston to Port Arthur, back to Austin, back to Port Arthur. Now we're talking about outside of San Antonio. We threw in Richmond in there. I mean, all this just because you were chasing some dreams. And what I got from this is that your ability to continue to reinvest in yourself, to put back into yourself, to make connections, to network, to be in the rooms where other people who influenced you, who you inspired to be like, you position yourself to be in those rooms as well. And all this ended up working out, even though you ended up getting passed over multiple times for roles that you felt like you were qualified for. And then other people came in and, took over those roles. What kept that hustle strong, man? Like, where did that motivation come from?
I would say, it was just, I had a strong network around me. The only reason I enrolled is there was a young lady at the job, Lakeisha, and she said, you should get a doctorate.
Right.
And then she came in the next day and gave me a list of schools. And I looked at her like, I don't want to go back to school.
Right.
Like, who trying to go back to school?
Exactly.
Like, no, that's going to take 10 years.
Right.
And she said, it may not. So when I meet with them, I said, how fast can I get this done? They said, well, you can take these many classes, but we don't recommend it. I'm take those many classes then. So Friday nights, Saturday nights, I was in class.
Okay.
In San Antonio.
Wow. Were you living there? Did you move to go to school at that point?
Drove there.
You was driving there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They didn't offer the online option.
We're talking about true dedication to yourself. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Health Hustle Chronicles. If you're just now tapping in, listen, we have a very special guest who goes by the name of Dr. Jared Williams. He's a proud native of Port Arthur, Texas, serves as the Chief Executive Officer of Family Services Center, the Center for Mental Health and Wellbeing. He holds a BBA in Management from Jarvis Christian University, an MBA in Healthcare Administration from Lamar University, and a doctorate in Business Administration and Analytics from University of Incarnate Word. Mm-hmm. So we're just now getting into his background, his hustle journey. He's telling us all about the sacrifices, the pivots that he had to make in his own career in order to become this chief executive officer that he is today. So, Doc, I would love to know, what exactly do you do today? As the CEO of a behavioral health clinic, shed some light on that.
Oh, so what I do here is, so first, when I come in very, very early.
Okay.
The organization's been around for about 110 years. So we're very, very old, rooted in Galveston, Texas. And one of the first things I do when I get in is I try to check emails and make sure communication stays afloat. Then after that, I get into like a to-do list of important things. Right now it's grant writing, budgeting, making sure we're on track, communicating to different stakeholders and or funders about new visions that I have or plans, or we're moving location. So, hey, come do the VIP tour, making people feel inspired by what we're doing, because it's not something that's easy. Then we're planning for our annual gala in the summertime, which we do one big fundraiser and kind of honor somebody who is very deserving. Hopefully this year, this honoree is going to be someone special that can work out. It just all depends on his schedule.
Okay. So when you say you get in early, how early are we talking about?
Today I got in at 5 a.m.
Is that pretty normal?
Yeah, I can do 5, 6, 7. Mostly I don't come in later than 7 o'clock.
All right. So you're also, like I said, you're CEO of Behavioral Health Clinic. Let me ask you this. Are there people that look like you and I that you actually serve in your clinic?
Yes. So the interesting thing about it is, depending on where you go, the population is different.
Okay. So
in Galveston, depending on what part of the island, it may be a heavy Hispanic, it may be a heavy African American, it may be a heavy Caucasian. But when you go to Friendswood, you're talking about a different population. Lamarck, different population, and so forth. So every city, every zip code is different. So one of the tasks I had to do was get our therapists to look like these populations.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's pretty important, right?
Yeah, that's very important, because I mean, you can't really open up to somebody that really don't look like you.
Yeah, representation matters. I mean, I want to walk in and, if I'm sick, down and out, or need any type of assistance, even if it's just somebody sitting at the front desk, checking me in, that's important to me. Feel like maybe I can vibe with these people. Like they know what I'm going through because they look like me, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You also mentioned that you were moving. When is this move coming about? Where are you moving to, and I guess inspired the move?
So I'll start with what inspired. What inspired was we're in several different areas on the island. Okay. 3 locations. What I don't like about those locations on the island is, one, it's not on a bus line. So if it's not on a bus line, it's not easy accessible to the people who can't get to our location. Okay. 2, one of our locations requires a fee to park, and the majority of the populations that we serve are underserved, they're underprivileged, they can be homeless, they can be very low income. So it's very disingenuous to ask somebody to pay to park to come in for free services. Okay. So we're moving to a location that is free to park on the bus line, on the train line, enough space so that it's very therapeutic. It's not cramped, and it fits very, very well in our budget.
How do people pay for your services? Is this private pay? They have some government assistance, or?
Well, actually, all of the above. Majority of our services are free because it's through the state of Texas. Okay. We have one grant through the Veterans Commission, and that's for veterans' mental health. We only have one program that is fee for service, and that's with insurance, but that's kind of a boutique program for traditional therapy for those who don't want to go through a program. But we serve everybody, and we try to make sure everybody goes through a program because it is free to them.
How do you go about reaching, I guess, the community and educating them on the services that you provide? You know, that's my first question. And then the second question would be, what are some of the conversations we need to have with these family members? I guess some of these misconceptions that they have in their mind that you often have to educate them on as well in order for them to receive the type of care that they deserve and need.
So starting with the conversations is we don't call it mental health. We kind of frame it in a different way, because when you talk about like the Hispanic community, they don't really like to say mental health. So when our Hispanic therapists talk to their community, they may say it a different way. When we talk to our community, we may say it a different way. We may call it prevention services, which we're trying to prevent something from exacerbating when it gets to a certain point. So that is how we try to frame it. Because we do a lot of sensitive counseling too. It's just not like traditional therapy. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. Right. Some of our programs are like victims of crime. So we have, which is VOCA. If you've been victimized, male or female, any time in your life, you get free counseling for the rest of your life through the state of Texas. Most people don't do that. So we see people from Austin all the way over to Port Arthur because they've been victimized and they need a safe haven. We're in the juvenile justice system for a lot of not only juveniles who go into the justice system for truancy or other acts, but they may go for delinquent acts that are unnamed that we don't like to put on brochures. So we frame it differently depending on that population.
And how do people go about finding, I guess, your particular location? Because there's a lot of service providers similar, offer similar services as well. So how do they find you guys?
So one of the reasons I chose this location is because we have a lot of nonprofits that sit here. For instance, United Way is in this building, CPS is in this building, SNAP, TANF is in this building. A lot of resources are here. So we want to make it like a hub where if you come here and you need those assistance or you need those resources, we'll tell you to go to the third floor. We'll tell you to go to the second floor instead of going across town, and then you have to figure it out. So we want to make sure it's a hub and it's comfortable for a lot of folks, because that's the most important thing. We don't want you to, because 9 times out of 10, if we tell you to go 3 blocks down the street and you really can't afford it, especially with the price of eggs, you're not going.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell us again, the viewers and the listeners, the name of the organization that you oversee, and then that contact information for that organization.
So the name of the organization is Family Service Center. We deviated to the Center for Mental Health and Wellbeing. Our website is www.fscgal.org. Our phone number 409-762-8636. Appointments can be made online or via phone, and we're always available.
And a follow-up question before we pivot. If someone truly needed these services, do they normally hit you up online? Do they call you, or do they walk in? How does that process work?
All of the above, actually. We could be at an event and somebody see like a VOCA brochure and they'll say, hey, I need this service. Or they may call, or it may be a referral. On Tuesdays, we go to CPS court. So when we go to CPS court, the judge says, hey, you can't leave until you book an appointment with this organization. So we have a fatherhood program. You can't do certain things unless you go through the fatherhood program. So it's a lot of referrals and word of mouth.
Got it. So now I'm interested in knowing, as we pivot, I want you to think all the way back to this 8-9-year-old version of yourself. You're laying in your bed, you're looking up at the ceiling. Mm-hmm. What did that person wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh, at 8 or 9 years old, man, I wanted to be either a doctor or an athlete very bad.
Okay. And you mentioned you did, well, let's go. What type of a doctor did you think you wanted to be?
I actually wanted to be a sports medicine doctor.
Okay. And then you said you played, you was in athletics. So what sport did you play?
I played football, played basketball. I ran track and I did powerlifting, but I loved football more than anything. I played basketball, but my dad hated it. And I see why, because I hurt my ankle horsing around in the gym. Yeah. And I couldn't run track, and he was furious. Yes. He's like, that's why you don't play back.
Exactly. I told you. I tried to told you. That's hilarious on that one. Because that's something I would have said as a parent too.
He's like, I told you. Goodness. I came in limping, and back then, you could. What made it worse was it wasn't just that I heard it. It was that I heard it, and you know how it swells up.
Right.
Before the game, they would stick it in an ice bucket, numb it up, tape it, play until it hurt, stick it back in the ice bucket, numb it, tape it, you play until it hurt, stick it back in the ice bucket. Like, it was no such thing as, let's rest them back then. No concussion-proof helmets. You just do whatever you wanted to.
Interesting. So, but you never took that collegiate. You never played at the collegiate level. Is that what I'm picking up?
No, I never played on the collegiate. I got an academic scholarship.
Oh, nice.
I went to Jarvis because it was free, and he said that's where you're going.
Okay.
When they offered, he's like, "You're going here."
That's where you're going. Listen, $3.99. Let's get it. I love that. So, there's a lot of pivots already. Just listening to your story. You've had to face and overcome a lot of different setbacks and challenges. So already the story is extremely inspiring. You also shared that you're getting in sometimes at 5 a.m. to get the work done with the outcome of impacting, your community and patients that come through your door. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot going on. So I'm interested in knowing, how do you go about separating your personal life from your professional life?
It's tough, because majority of your job is people, right? I want to say about 80 to 90% of my job is people. It's employees, it's the community, it's networking, it's people. Yes. So the separation is very tough. The only way I can separate is I have to leave the area.
Gotcha.
And even when I leave the area, my wife, she still makes me either like do not disturb it or turns it off. Yeah. But she understands. She's a psychology professor. So she's in mental health, and she understands that, there's always a need.
I love this. You got a healthcare family, and you got a support system that's built in at home, which is great, because we need that, right?
Yeah.
And then she holds you accountable to make sure you unplug, because she's thinking about your health and well-being as well, which is so important. Especially as an executive of a behavioral health clinic that helps so many different people across the state of Texas. So I'm interested in knowing, shed some light. You're a Black chief executive officer. What are some of the challenges that you face in that role? And I guess, how would people go about overcoming those challenges?
I think the first challenge I probably faced before I even got the role was you probably realize who your friends are and who your friends aren't. I think when I thought I had a friend who was a boss, as you want to call it, or someone I reported to, I thought they were excited for me, and then pretty much told me they didn't think I was ready for it and I wasn't going to be able to handle it. It was kind of like a stab in the back.
Sure.
And you'll see that happen a lot. So that was probably something I wasn't ready for.
Okay.
Because you were talking about somebody I've been to, like a Pittsburgh Steelers game with in New Orleans, and DC to see Zion Williams play his last game. And
right.
We're not talking about like I just see you every day. I'm talking like we got some history, and to be mad because I'm want growth.
Interesting.
You'll see a lot of people be mad.
And this person was like, they were already like at the level that you were wanting to be at?
Yeah, former boss.
Wow. Okay. Is there any other, challenges as a Black CEO that you face?
Oh yeah. people think you're incompetent, of course.
Okay.
You still have to work 40 times harder than the next person, especially in Galveston.
Right.
I think Galveston still has that racial divide where it's the ins versus the outs. I'm not from here. They call it the BOI, born on the island.
Yes.
Not from here, so I don't fit in with the culture, but it's all about this cliquish thing. I have dreads, I have locks, so of course that's a strike. Not clean shaven, that's another strike.
Right.
I don't typically like to wear suits per se, especially in the South.
Right. Yeah, it is hot. People don't realize, man. You step outside, it's like it's 8:00 in the morning, and by 9:00 you feel like you need a shower again.
Steamy. So
yes.
I'm not a suit guy, and everybody likes to wear suits, and that's just not me. So you don't really fit in as a African American CEO anywhere.
Okay.
Right. So it's anywhere I go, country club, play some golf. We can go out to the restaurant. You just don't fit in because it's just different.
Okay. What, in your opinion, and this is just your opinion, what do you think holds people back from accomplishing their goals?
I think a lot of people are scared of the result. Right.
Mm-hmm.
When you look like you work out when you're in the gym and you say you're going to do 10, you do 10 easy.
Right.
About 11. Can you do 11?
Right.
What about 12? Can you do 12 and not die?
Right.
13, 14, can you keep going? And it seems like people get to 10 and they're like, okay, I got to 10. Let me do another 10. Well, it's the extra push that gets you to the level. And a lot of people, either it's a psychological thing or it's something that is just probably ingrained in folks that they just don't want to go past the 10. They're comfortable. And I'm just not a comfortable guy.
I love this. You put it into perspective too, just using bodybuilding and weightlifting as, one of those types of, insight. But now we're going to 10. That was the goal, to get to 10. But now are we pushing ourselves? Are we getting past that comfort zone, going past 10 to get to 11 and 12 and 13? And that's where that growth comes, right? Is what I'm understanding.
Yes.
And that's what holds people back. They're the fear of accomplishing something.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's so powerful and dope too, because a lot of the times we think we're not getting started because we're fearful of just this, that, or the other. But what your perspective is that we're afraid of success.
Yeah. Because once you tear those muscles, they're going to get bigger.
They're only going to get bigger.
It's a little pain for a little. You won't be able to raise your arms up. You won't be able to sit down for a little while. Once it repairs, you'll be a better person. But nobody wants to go through that pain.
Tell me this, Doc. When it's all said and done, what's the impact that you're trying to make?
Well, I think one of the biggest impact that I'm trying to make is I'm trying to encourage a lot of folks. So we do a lot of internships here now where we're ingrained into a lot of one of the minority schools and use a lot of minorities to get them interested in what we do. That's why I participate with Jarvis in connecting them to the PricewaterhouseCoopers, the Ernest Youngs. There's opportunities for you. You just need to go get it. Here in Galveston, we partner with the local college and we make them hustle. You want to do IT? We're going to show you what IT is. It's not sitting behind a computer. We're going to put you in the ceiling. We're going to throw some 2x4s at you. Build this. Get that server. We want them to have practical experience so nobody will ever tell them you are not qualified. You can't do this.
What advice would you give other people, other professionals interested in either joining the hustle or learning from your hustle?
Always be inquisitive. I didn't go to school for accounting. But I kept asking questions. If I had to sit there all day and figure it out, I'll sit there all day and figure it out. Don't be embarrassed if you don't know the answer. A lot of people they don't say anything because they feel like they're embarrassed or they feel like it's something that will diminish them. You have to ask those questions. My mom will tell me, your favorite question as a child was why?
Right.
She'll give me the answer and I'll say why. And she'll answer and I'll say why.
Right.
She'll keep answering it until she's tired of answering. You got to keep asking why.
I love that too. So you're still a young guy. You're CEO of Behavioral Health Clinic. You're still investing into yourself. Talk to me. We're talking about the next, 10 years. Where do you see yourself at this point?
Next 10 years. Next 10 years, what I really want to do is I have two options. One, I want to turn this into a larger organization, because in 110 years, I feel like the reach should be a little deeper and it should be a little wider. Okay. And we're getting there, and probably move on to something probably back into the hospital system. Okay. Which, how my track record has been, I'll still be in nonprofits.
Right.
Not get out of nonprofits.
That's your calling, man. Nonprofits.
Yeah. I cannot get out.
Hey, maybe that's where you're supposed to be, but I can see other things in your future as well. Maybe even speaking, probably even around the world. Speaking of that, have you authored any books or anything like that?
I have not.
Okay. All right. Is that on your bucket list?
Actually, I've never thought about authoring a book. I know my wife and we do a lot of presentations together.
Okay.
We do a lot of mental health presentations.
So I have to ask you this question too. Mm-hmm. You're already busy. You and your wife both, y'all committed to the hustle. You're committed to impacting and, affecting so many people, especially in your state. And, we talked about how you're trying to unplug when you're not at work. But I'm interested in knowing that outside of work, right, is there passion projects that maybe you dibble and dabble into that you can shed some light on?
Oh man, I love the garden, right? And when I say garden, I mean like grow vegetables. Like when I say I have an old school family, like I have a great Aunt Ida. Whenever she wanted bell peppers, okra, all of that, sugar cane, she would just go to a backyard.
Yes.
Grab it and eat it. So one of the things I love to do is I love to grow my own food. Watermelon, okra, eggplant, peppers, you name it, I grow it.
So you have a greenhouse, or is this just a little space in your backyard?
A huge space in the backyard where it just died from the freeze, and I'm getting to plant it again. But I love to do it because it's fresher, it lasts longer, and it just relaxes me.
Not only is that a learned skill, but it's also an escape for you where you get to, I guess, just enjoy being at peace with you and your plants, man, you and your garden. I love that too. All right, Doc. I have to ask, how do people get a hold of you? Please drop your socials, your points of contact, so people can connect with you, not only network with you, but maybe even come and work for you.
Yeah. So my LinkedIn, J.M. Williams. If you look at that LinkedIn page, that's the best way to get a hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn more than I am on any other social media.
Okay.
Treat LinkedIn like it's Facebook.
Right.
I'm Googling on LinkedIn. I'm looking people up. I'm looking at grants. I'm always on LinkedIn. So you can always find me on LinkedIn. If you want to email me, it's jwilliams@fscgal.org. I always respond to my email. If you don't hear from me, it's because I'm out of the country. I'm probably traveling to Ghana, which is probably my favorite place to go now.
Okay.
So those are the two main ways to reach me.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hustle Chronicles, where the grind meets growth in the world of healthcare. As you know, this ain't your typical podcast because I bring you the freshest, the livest guests from around the world. And today we were blessed by having Dr. Jared Williams. DBA. He's a proud native of Port Arthur, Texas, serves as the Chief Executive Officer of Family Service Center, the Center for Mental Health and Wellbeing, holds a BBA in Management from Jarvis Christian University, an MBA in Healthcare Administration from Lamar University, and a doctorate in Business Administration and Analytics from University of Incarnate Word. With over 19 years of experience in finance, operations, quality, and performance improvement, information technology, as well as analytics, Dr. Williams has worked across hospital systems, multiple state hospices, and federally qualified health systems. He also holds certifications in Big Data Analytics, 360 from Cornell University, Healthcare Leadership from Harvard University, and is a certified nonprofit executive and development executive through the National Association of Nonprofit Organizations and Executives. Committed to community service, Dr. Williams is a board member of Galveston Clubhouse and NIA Cultural Center and serves as chair of the Faculty Employer Advisory Committee at Jarvis Christian University. We've been blessed, Doc. You know, introducing yourself both personally as well as professionally, sharing the story and the impact that you're making and what the future looks like for you. So I'm going to leave, a few seconds here for you to close us out with any parting words for the guests.
So thank you for having me today. This was great. I mean, the time flew by, and it was a great conversation. And the one of the things I want to add is how being rooted in your community, that last part, is very important for people to see someone like them in different roles. One of those organizations, besides my university, that I participate in is the Whycultural Center, which is home of the Juneteenth Legacy Project.
Ooh.
And if you have a chance, look them up. And if you're in Galveston, come to the Juneteenth Gallery, and you will see the history there, because they're set up right across from the slave auction docks on purpose.
Wow.
So it's powerful. You get to, and that's all a part of being not only just in this role, is being a leader. You want to root yourself in the community to learn more about the community.
Doc, thank you for continuing to inspire us, educate us, uplift us, and create opportunities for us. I truly appreciate what you bring to the table. I really enjoyed this episode. I can't wait to get this out for the rest of the world. And my advice to you, keep grinding, keep hustling, and I look forward to continue to collaborate with you, especially when I'm down in your city.
Oh yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Doc. Excellent.
Hustle on.